3, 2, fuck you. Hello and welcome everybody to episode 116, or are we on 117?
117.
Fuck, I messed up. Welcome to episode 117 of the Son of a Tech podcast, and joining me as always is the co-host who will remind me the numbers on everything. So
it's Slangerang. Hello again. We have our pretty standard layout.
we do.
Some news topics for you for the week, some game releases, but we're going to start off with what we've been playing this week. So what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing Rocket League, Elder Scrolls Online, and Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. Rocket League, it has been like reinvigorated because like guys from work want to play it a little bit, and
Yeah.
they're awful. So like I feel good.
So you get to...
Yeah, like, but the thing is, playing with awful people in Rocket League gets frustrating after about like 3 matches when you're just like, you know, you could not hit the ball backwards towards our goal. That could be a thing we try to practice on. And my problem is I always get into like the elite meta game, and I'm like, well, what you're supposed to do is rotate. Nobody understands what the fuck that means. And then you're like, well, yeah, you want to go in front of the... Don't stay behind in the back of the goal the whole time, you idiot. But no, go back to goal. Like, do you understand how this game works at all?
You take a shot, move... As you're moving backwards, the person who was on defense goes up to take a shot.
Yeah.
And as that happens... And usually you're playing threes.
Yeah.
So the person who had taken the shot before you is now on defense while you're still on your way back.
And you take that, you take that swarm, and then if you're gonna go for the follow up, you kind of need to call that out. But you shouldn't try to just sit under ball either. That annoys the fuck out of me when somebody's like, you know, they have ball cam on, so their camera's all twisted. I used to imagine they're like rubbernecking, you know, but they're like the rubberneckers in traffic or something, and they're just sitting there under the ball trying to hit it, but the ball just moves like 2 inches because that's not how physics work in this game, well, or in real life. So I don't understand why you would think that would be an effective method of playing that video game, but yeah, so that's what happens to me. I get into that mode where I'm like, are you just an idiot? And I'm trying to be nice, but I blurt out in my blunt way. I'm just like, that was fucking stupid. Stop.
I quit playing or taking it seriously before I figured out like the good times to go and turn on ball cam and turn off ball cam. Like usually I played without it.
Yeah.
And before I got good at aerials so I could take like off angle shots. Like if it's coming straight at me, I can get up there and, you know, knock it back down, but it won't necessarily go at goal.
Right.
So
and then Elder Scrolls Online, I got back into and played for about like 2 hours. I think I'm level 19 now. It's a slow grind, but it's an Elder Scrolls game, so it's not terrible to grind out because you just play the story. And they did this thing now where it's just essentially you can do any mission and get the same amount of XP from it. The enemies scale with you. So I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it's cool because you can just go do whatever you want, right, in one hand. But then on the other hand, you don't really get that sense of progression because you're not like, oh, I can't go to this area until I'm level blah, blah, blah. You can just...
Right, it's you can go to wherever area you want.
Yeah, and the only time you start getting restrictions is like with dungeons. So, whatever. I don't know how I feel about it. And then
WoW did that as well for this expansion, where, you know, as long as you're, you know, level 98 or whatever, you walk into the zone and you can do any content in the game relatively, you know, except for instances. You can do any of the zones and quest in any of the zones without going in. And I agree with your hesitation about that because it goes and takes away some of the natural order progression of I should go over here now because I just finished this thing. But the one bigger benefit, and I guess actually the two benefits are, if you're playing on a PvP server, and I don't know if ESO has PvP, you can just leave an area where somebody's being a scumbag.
Right.
And 2, you can go and play with a friend even though they're a different level, because, well, at least in WoW, the level scaling is like cross like teammates. So
right.
Like you'll be able to go and eat. Basically, I think what they're doing is the displayed number is a percentage of health, and the damage that you do is going to be a percentage of health. So what you see and what they do to you is going to be a percentage of your health based off of, you know, your gear, and what you're doing is going to be based off your gear. But like everybody goes and sees a number that's catered to their own player.
Right, and it makes sense. I mean, it does, especially if you think about like the target market for MMOs and where most of the MMO players are right now in their lives with having kids and full-time careers, etc. Like making it a little bit easier to play with friends, which yes, that ESO does the same thing or similar thing.
Right.
And just being able to go and do whatever content you want to do or feel like doing when you go to play. But at the same time, yeah, it does, like, it feels weird. It doesn't feel right when I play it. Like, I'm just kind of like, what happens with me? So, because WoW's a little bit different because that only starts at a later level, right? For ESO, that starts at level fucking 1. So, I end up getting lost, essentially lost, especially in, like, storylines, etc., because it's just all over the place. And then you end up, like, picking up, like, 100 quests and filling up. It has a quest log like cap, so like you'll pick up all the
like 35 quests or something.
Like what I'll end up doing is I'll like pick up all of the quests in an area like I would normally do when I level in an MMO, and then go out to do all those. But ESO, as soon as you like one storyline, like from start to finish, takes you from the previous area to the next area. So if you pick up all of the quests in that area, you will only finish one of them, and
consciously then skip around from one to one to
You'll have to consciously say, "Oh, I need to stop this storyline, go back, finish the other up to." So, like, I have a whole bunch of disjointed like quest lines, and then I spent way too much money on travel.
The other option you could do, which probably isn't effective, but it would be better from a continuity standpoint, is just play one quest line at a time. Pick up one quest, do it all the way through, even though it brings you throughout the entire game, maybe. Yeah, and then go back and do another quest.
Well, that's why that's probably what I was saying. The problem with the problem with that is that it costs a lot of travel money to do that, and so you have to pay to.
Does the travel money scale too, or is it you pay? You know, 20 copper.
I don't know the answer to that. Like, I know that it costs different depending on how far you travel, right? So if I travel like all the way back, now there are ways around that. Like if you pick up all of the travel points, you can run to a travel point and then travel to one for free or very minimal cost. Yeah. But that's not very effective if you're leveling, right? Like if you're leveling, just being able to like quick travel all the way back and pay for that's the fastest way. So it breaks kind of the continuity. It breaks kind of some of the way, like those mechanics, the way the travel system works and stuff is very old school MMORPG, and I think using this new level design or leveling design with that, it feels disjointed. They need to kind of figure a way out how to make all of that work together. And I mean, that's the story of ESO in general, though, because they throw in microtransactions. They throw in a monthly transaction. If you want to do that, you can mix and match them both. It's too much and not well thought out enough. Like you find like kinks in the armor or whatever all the time with it.
I always find that like most games that have microtransactions are pretty incongruent in general. Like because they want to kind of force you to make purchases, or they would prefer that you make purchases. Right. It ends up being like you feel like you're climbing an endless wall, pushing the Atlas stone up the hill, so to speak, and without going and making the purchases, you're not going to be able to go and win. Yeah. And I've always... I'd always rather pay $10 and own a game that has no microtransactions than go and...
I mean, I would rather pay a monthly fee And see, I guess that's the other thing that bugs me about ESO is I'm paying the $15 a month, or I paid for this month at least. And if you would think that would make it feel less in your face with the microtransactions and stuff, but it doesn't, just because of the way it's broke. And so what they do is if you pay $15 a month, they give you 1,500 crown currency, which is the real money currency, to then spend in the crown store.
Okay.
Which plus a couple other perks and bonuses or whatever. That's just kind of annoying. Like, I'm still just paying $15 for 1,500 crowns. The only difference is I get an extra little perk for being, a subscriber, which is like, I might as well just pay the $15 for the fucking crowns. Because it's not that much of a perk. I don't remember all of exactly what they are, but they're not like so much that they counteract the crowns. Like the crowns are the big deal. That's where you buy the starter packs with the XP boosts and blah, blah, blah. And XP boosts just shouldn't be in the game at all. They just shouldn't. Because then, for this, if you're not using an XP boost, it's very grindy. If you are, then it feels like a normal MMO. Which already feels grindy. So if you don't use it, it feels fucking grindy. And
there's no way to go and earn those without the real... Like, you can't earn real money currency through the game at all?
You can. But, I mean, that's where you're talking about an initial player that doesn't already have a pre-existing account's going to have a very hard time getting to the point of earning enough money to do anything like that. So, it is what it is.
So Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, how's that?
Yeah, I played it with my daughter. It's fun. Like, the Lego games are just fun. I don't know if you've played them. No,
I haven't played any of the Lego games.
Yeah, this one's it's straight up Jack the Force Awakens story, and then plays off of it with the typical Lego humor, etc. So the cutscenes are funny. My daughter's probably not quite to the... Like, she's adept at, like, Skylanders, Disney Infinity, etc. She's 5 now, and she understands, like, the QTE events for the puzzles enough. But there are still the ones where it's like, that was obviously just way too complicated for a kid. And even they say, like, 7-8-year-olds can do it. And I'm kind of sitting there going, I mean, yeah, I guess if you just let your kid play it and figure it out. But if I'm playing it with him, I'm going to get frustrated because I'm going to be trying to control this stupid co-op game that requires both players to do a different task in the puzzles. So a lot of times I end up like with both controllers in my lap trying to like do a stupid
trying to do both of them at the same time.
Yeah, doing a QTE event, and I'm like, get good.
That's gotta be difficult.
Yeah, so we're very, very slowly making our way through The Force Awakens at this point. But that is what.
Is that a doorbell I just heard?
No, it's this work phone. I gotta get turned off. I thought I turned it off. I did. I don't know.
So I played a little bit of WoW. I basically logged on only to raid this week, and that was it.
Yeah.
We got some attempts on heroic Kill Jaden, who is the last boss of the latest and greatest raid. He's pretty hard.
Is he?
But we might get it. I'm not very confident. We have.
I'm not very confident.
We have a lot of people that. So not to toot my own horn. But there's like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 DPS in the guild that like actually do a good job.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of people that just aren't very good at keeping their numbers up. So if you look at the damage meters, it's like myself, my roommate, who you may be able to hear bits and pieces of from the other room, and like one other guy. But then there's like 6 people who are all varying levels and steps of
below that
being worse than us. And I'm not very good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's more so that my class is pretty strong at the moment, so it elevates me to pretty much the top or second from the top most of the time. But some of the other people, man, But anyways, yeah, no, I logged in just for that and didn't really do anything else, which is surprising because I've been very into that game up until just recently. But I broke down this weekend and I did something I never support doing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this. I actually broke down, but not for the same reason. So
yeah, for a long time, Blind and I have both been very against going and buying early release or early access games. Right. It's just not smart. Inevitably, you're going to end up getting disappointed.
I feel like it sets a bad precedent for the industry where like the devs say, okay, well, they're still selling, so we're going to keep doing it. Right,
exactly. Yeah, no, it makes this kind of... It ruins the future progress of games too, because it means that, hey, we can, if people go and buy this product now, then we can just sell it to them and not actually have to finish the game. We can, get it to a point where people will pay for it and then cut our support for the game by half and have them start working on our next game and, slow down the development of it such that we never get to, the actual finished product that this game should be. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this game is a little bit different. So, yes, there a lot of what I just said is still true with this.
So what game is it though?
Probably a 95% product, but it's PlayerUnknown's Battleground. And if you go and watch,
now why did you decide to pick it up? Because we talked about it, and then you looked into it more, or
I mean, I had watched lots of videos of it.
Yeah,
and I think it was one of those things where there's so many of my friends that are playing it that I just got tired of being like, well, all right, what am I going to play? It's going to be like, oh, am I going to play this? And it's like, I still haven't finished Deus Ex. I should probably go back and do that. I started to get back into XCOM 2 a couple weeks ago, and I haven't finished that either. But it's like, what? I want to be able to play with friends, and I'm tired of WoW. So let's play something that has, a lot of multiplayer component to it. And I was like, whatever, $30. It's not that bad. But I have to say that I probably have already gotten. I've already gotten my money's worth out of it.
Hey, like $30 is $30.
It's probably overpriced. It's probably, I would argue that it should be like a $20 game. There's only one map, but the same is true of a game like Dota 2. But that game is also free,
right?
And the map is constantly, or the way that they, kind of make the game new every time. For those of you who don't know what this game is, it was just crazy to me. The map kind of chooses a new location and collapses a ring around it. And when you're outside of the ring, you have to kind of beat another ring that'll collapse in on top of there's a blue ring and a white ring. And if you're outside the white ring, you have to kind of beat the blue ring into the white ring. And if you're outside the white ring, or outside the blue ring, you'll start to take damage. So you kind of always racing to go and loot gear in order to go and, make yourself more capable in combat. And strategically position yourself such that you're closer within the white ring in order to go and, take down the other opponents. And the problem that the ring grows and creates is that inevitably when you're outside the ring, there's going to be people that were already inside the ring,
right,
that are going to shoot your face off.
So my problem with the game, let's do this. Clarification. I bought it because it was requested to do CPU benchmarks on, and that is a very valid thing for that game because it does have some pretty hefty or odd unoptimized CPU requirements. And I was doing budget CPUs, the 6100 versus